Welcome everyone to Canadian Yorker here, and we are live streaming uh, our Canadian Yorker channel on the Canadian Yorker channel because um, I'm doing a massive soccer update. This is going to be a soccer live stream video, and we are doing a massive update. I'm bringing to you a massive update in regards to what's going to be going down and happening with um, with the FIFA World Cup occurring in the United States, Mexico, and Canada, as well as some information in regards to the FIFA Club World Cup about what's been going on. So, in regards to some of the things that has been going on, guys, a lot has happened in the past month. I know I've been away from this channel and been working with WWE Wrestling Goes because, let's face it, myself and Bruce still have been busy. A lot has been going on this month, and we've just been really busy taking care of business, and so we have not been able to focus on doing what we have to do, staying up to date with uh, with Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, and of course the events that occur in between it. So that's a lot that's been going on, and for myself, in the Canadian Yorker channel, a lot has been going on, and so that's why I have not been live streaming every day like I usually do. On top of that, dealing with work as well. It's also something that's been keeping me busy. So a lot has been going on. But that's just life. Life is all about there's never going to be a straight path. It's always going to be crooked. It's always going to be a left and right turn. You got to make moves and find ways to get around. So a lot has been going on, guys. So without further ado, that's just some of the things that have been going on in regards to what's happening in the background. But for today, I have been following some of the news about what's been going on with FIFA, and I know I've been mentioning in some of the previous broadcasts that I've done on soccer and football is that in the soccer world, as far as what's been going on, a lot has been happening, and so far, look, there's been some ups and downs with some of the things that's been going on with FIFA and soccer in America. So, without further ado, guys, let's just kind of get into this here. So I'm bringing, I've mentioned in the description box, probably have like 17 links to 17 things. I know I don't have 17, but I think I must have reposted the same links again twice in a row, but it must be my mistake if I do that, and I apologize for that. But I'm just including different links to different types of articles about what's been going on in FIFA. And so, let's get reading into this first article here, which was written 2 weeks ago, and this is from MSN.com. FIFA's biggest tournament in America is already losing its stars. So it says here, as crazy as it may sound, the center of the soccer universe right now is the United States of America. In the space of a year, the U.S. is planning to host two of the biggest international tournaments on the planet, the 2026 World Cup and the 2025 Club World Cup. This should be America's proudest moment as a burgeoning soccer nation. It's looking like it may be more of a sad tuba. There are concerns about attendance, with ticket prices for the opener between MLS's Inter Miami and Egypt's Al Ahly needing to be slashed. Current events in the U.S. already threaten to overshadow the tournament, even without ICE and Customs Border Patrol personnel providing security at the Hard Rock Stadium, and those are just the off-field issues. On the field, there are major worries as well. Those are coming from the men who will be putting their bodies on the line. It's never good press for a major tournament to have star players openly questioning the wisdom of holding it at all. Real Madrid's Kylian Mbappe and Manchester City's Rodri have already spoken out about the burden of this tournament, and others are putting on players. So says here, my Bob says we play like already 60 games in a year, so you have so many competitions, and we are happy to play. But when it's too much, it's too much. And Bob says via Sky Sports, I think we have to respect the health of the players. Last September, Rodri even supported the idea of a strike as players push back against too many games. Rodri said, quote, I think we are close to that. If you ask any player, they will say the same. It's the general opinion of the players. If it keeps going this way, there will be a moment where we have no other option, but let's see. It's something that worries us because we are the ones who suffer. Suffering comes in the form of breaking down. More games equals more fatigue and more chances to succumb to injury. Rodri's fate should have Mbappe worried. Rodri himself missed most of the 2024-25 season with a knee injury. He played 63 games for the club and country in 2023-2024, the year before he played 68. So from 2022 to 2024, he participated in 2 league campaigns, 2 deep Champions League runs, the 2022 World Cup in the winter, the 2023 UEFA Nations League in the summer, and the 2024 Euros in the summer. Is it any wonder he eventually broke down? He never really had a chance to let his body recover from a grueling schedule that continued year after year. That'll be the concern for Mbappe too. This year, Mbappe played 56 games across all competitions for Real Madrid. He played more than 45 minutes in 11 games for France. That's 67 games. He'll play at least 3 more in the Club World Cup, if not 7, should Real Madrid make it to the final. When all is said and done, he may have played 74 games in the span of a year. The La Liga schedule kicks off on August 17th. Preseason training usually begins in July, leaving Mbappe precious little time to rest before another campaign begins. And if all goes well, he'll play another 50 or so games with Real Madrid during his club season, then spend the better part of the summer 2026 playing in the World Cup. Would anyone blame Mbappe if he were tempted to take it easy at the Club World Cup? So the Club World Cup could become glorified preseason friendlies. Mbappe is 26 years old and has appeared in almost 100 more matches than Messi did at that age, and he's certainly not the only one who should seriously consider protecting themselves against during the Club World Cup. Let me just move that out the way, guys. Got some problems here. Moving it down. Next. FIFA shows close to 30 players on the Club World Cup rosters have appeared in 50 or more matches this season. That list includes Mbappe, Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, Vinicius Jr., Federico Valverde, and Enzo Fernandez. The first majority injury at the Club World Cup could spell its doom. This tournament doesn't carry the prestige of other more established competitions. No one remembers or cares who won the last year or the year before. The World Cup next year is far more important, and major stars have already hinted at the biggest reason they shouldn't go all out. America's biggest moment is off to a rough start. It won't get better until the biggest stars in the sport buy in. So there we have it from the first article here about, of course, with all of these players playing more games, of course they're correct. It's definitely going to increase the chances of getting injury because they're playing so many games. It's definitely going to take a toll on their body and definitely increase the chances of them getting injury in a tournament. So this is not the first time that I've heard this. I mean, of course, in many other sports, of course, there are many players that complain about the same thing. Of course, you have that in the NBA. Of course, you've seen it in the NBA where 3 basketball stars got injured. 3 basketball players got injured. Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard, and Tyrese Halliburton all got injured by tearing their Achilles in the playing basketball. But of course, in basketball, it's a completely different sport from soccer, and they can't be compared the same. it's not the same. So we know, of course, that injuries could likely occur, and you don't want to see that happen to the players. Of course, the players are correct. They're definitely raising their concerns, and they have a right to raise their concerns about that. So let's kind of get into the next part, talking about. Then this next article is going to be talking about Rodri and Mbappe. So it says here. So I'm going to go to that article right here. Where's the article? It should be here. Let me just find it real quick. Actually, I'll just skip. I'll come back to that. So it says here, FIFA Club World Cup blasted for horrendous problem in opening match. So this article was written on June 14th, 2025 on themirror.com. So it says here, the FIFA Club World Cup got off on a wrong foot as the opener between Inter Miami and Al Ahly featured a blatant kit clash. Excuse me. I'm going to be reading a lot today, guys, so I got a bottle of water with me to make sure my throat is clear and I don't have any problems when I'm talking. Though Inter Miami's presence in the FIFA Club World Cup was initially met with backlash, Lionel Messi expressed his excitement to compete in the revamped tournament after being presented with a challenge by FIFA President Gianni Infantino. Cristiano Ronaldo opted not to take part in the competition while reaffirming his commitment to Saudi Pro League side Al Nassr. On Saturday, the Herons hosted the Egyptian champions Al Ahly at the Hard Rock Stadium, which was noticeably emptier than usual. Moments into the match, droves of disgruntled viewers complained that the two sides were wearing kits that were pink and red, which were analogous colors. Taking to social media, many fans questioned why FIFA allowed both Inter Miami and Al Ahly to wear their home kits, even though they are clearly similar. Pink and red jersey in a match. At least one should have worn their away jersey. One ex-user wrote, with another adding, red and pink are colors from similar families. No, why are the two teams donning these colors? A third chimed in, personally, quote unquote, personally can't just believe they just decided that pink and red isn't a kit clash. Others bemoaned that the kit pairing looks horrendous at the home on television. Isn't pink and red, is what people have said, quote, isn't pink and red a bit of a color clash? It looks like horrendous on TV. Of course, people have written these things. Fans who were able to get over the kit clash were subsequently treated to a thrilling match that featured no shortage of excitement despite the ending in a 0-0 draw. Goalkeepers Oscar Usari and Mohamed El Shenawi each turned in masterful performances, each making several impressive saves in the scoreless stalemate. In the 43rd minute, Inter Miami's Ustari denied Mahmoud Trezeguet on a penalty kick and subsequent rebound shot to keep the Herons level entering half. Messi made his presence felt in the second, proving to be a real problem for Al Ahly and coming painfully close to scoring on a free kick and header. Inter Miami head coach Javier Mascherano will surely be pleased with entering a draw and share the points on Saturday after acknowledging that the Club World Cup would pose an immense challenge to the Herons. He said, quote, Javier Mascherano said, we have to be honest, the level of play will be higher than that we face in the CONCACAF Champions and MLS. He said earlier in the week, the Club World Cup has a very high level, and it's a level we clearly don't have. We have to be honest about it, and there's no shame in saying so. So there we have it from the Mirror website right there, talking about the match between the horrendous kit clashing between the teams' uniforms that the article was talking about here. So going into the next part, Lionel Messi fans failed to show as the Club World Cup opener seeds empty seats and Inter Miami supporters outnumbered. So this is the next part here. So it says here during the match, again this article is from themirror.com, written June 14th. It says here, the highly anticipated match opening of the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup at Miami's Hard Rock Stadium failed to deliver the atmosphere fans expected. After Lionel Messi made his hard feelings clear on Club World Cup without Cristiano Ronaldo, the stadium saw a surprisingly low turnout and a notable number of empty seats. Official figures for Saturday's match between Inter Miami of Major League Soccer and Al Ahly of Egypt reported on attendance of 60,927, but this number reflects tickets sold rather than the actual crowd present. Many sections of the stadium remained visibly empty, casting a quiet shadow over what should have been a vibrant soccer celebration. Though Inter Miami was the home team, the majority of fans in attendance were supporting Al Ahly. The usual splash of Inter Miami pink was overshadowed by the sea of Al Ahly red filling the stands. Questions about David Beckham's Inter Miami Club World Cup transfers he raised. Organized fan groups and traveling supporters from Egypt made their presence known, outnumbering Miami fans in the stadium. The imbalance was striking, especially given the presence of Messi and the team's growing profile in the MLS, Major League Soccer League. On the pitch, the game ended in a 0-0 stalemate, with neither team able to find the back of the net. Star players like Messi, Sergio Busquets, and Luis Suarez were unable to break through a strong defensive display from both sides. The real stars were the goalkeepers. Inter Miami's Oscar Asari made a key penalty save, while Al Ahly's Mohamed El Shanari stood tall, including a spectacular late save on Messi's curling shot that nearly sealed the win for Miami. After the game, Inter Miami manager Javier Mascherano said, "I think I'm happy with the performance. It was much better in the second half. We could improve in the second half with the transitions, as in the first half we lost our balls that gave them some transitions which were very dangerous." Mascherano also said the nerves were part of the played a part in the first half, as they didn't move the ball from side to side. Let's see, check something real quick, guys. Okay, good. Just need to check and see if I am live, and I am live, so that's good to see. Let's get back to this. Yes, in a bid to mask the sparse attendance for television viewers, FIFA reportedly moved fans closer to the camera angles and slashed ticket prices, offering discounts as low as $4 for students. Despite these offers, the stadium never reached the kind of energy fans hoped for, raising questions about the tournament's appeal in markets like Miami. The opening match highlighted the challenges FIFA faces in growing the Club World Cup's popularity in the U.S., particularly in cities where political and social tensions may impact fan participation. While the game showcased world-class talent and marked a milestone for Inter Miami, the lackluster crowd and dominance of visiting supporters emphasized the need for organizers to engage more deeply with the local fans. As the tournament progresses, addressing these issues may be the key to boosting attendance and enthusiasm in future editions. So that's it from this article here on themirror.com on the Club World Cup. Of course, it takes a while to definitely raise the level of popularity and gain popularity for soccer. Of course, soccer in the U.S. is not a very popular sport in the U.S. and there are many people who are popular, who are favors. You know, they like soccer, but soccer is not their favorite sport. Welcome, Boone Steele. I see you're on the live stream today. I'm not supporting Logan Paul, and I'm not supporting Nia Jax. Of course, that is not happening. Of course, we're talking about soccer today, not about wrestling. Probably in the next live stream, we'll do a live streaming thing um, on wrestling. But for today, it's all about soccer today, guys. About football. So the next article here, um, there are some issues in regards with some of these players being able to come into the United States and play in the United States because of the situation ongoing with immigration and people being deported. Of course, we're not really going to go too deep into it, but there are some players that and people that are having some issues, not only in soccer but in other sports as well. But of course, I'll address that in another live stream. But there are issues that were, it might be people that are being left out. So in this particular case from CBSSports.com, is a Boca Juniors Arton Costa to miss Club World Cup after U.S. denies visa for Argentine defender. Of course, this happened June 13th, 2025. So that was almost 2 weeks ago. So of course, so let's read this here. So Boca Juniors defender Arton Costa will not be able to play at the Club World Cup after being denied a visa by U.S. authorities. The 25-year-old center back was included on the initial 35-man squad that traveled to the U.S., where they begin their campaign against Benfica on Monday. Costa was reportedly involved in an attempted robbery case in 2018 for which he accepted a probationary sentence to avoid trial. Criminal convictions can lead to visas being turned down by American border agents. The club spokesperson told Reuters, quote unquote, "We can confirm that Arton Costa is set to miss the Club World Cup with Boca. The defender was due to travel on Wednesday night but did not obtain the visa. Costa would have been in contention to start for Miguel Russo's side in the Group 8B opener, which is followed by games against Bayern Munich and Auckland City. A January signing from Belgian side Antwerp, Costa played Boca's final game of the season against his club's former independent. Marco Pellegrino, a new signing from Milan, is also recovering his fitness, opening the door for former Manchester United defender Marcos Rojo to start Boca's first in 18 years. So there's another short article here. Unfortunately for Arton Costa, he cannot be in the U.S. because of his situation that he got into, and that's affecting his ability to be able to come to the United States, and that's unfortunate. So fortunate for some people because of the past mistakes they've made, that's costing them right now in the future. And I'm going to be getting into a couple of other individuals here. So now we're just switching over to FIFA, and FIFA is definitely having problems. They definitely struggle. They struggled to get people's butt in the seats because so this article is written on June 17th. It's going into some of the more details about why FIFA can blame its own arrogance for a near-empty Club World Cup seats. So it says here, we're not even a week into the Club World Cup, and the prevailing theme has to be embarrassing for FIFA. Concerns about poor ticket prices have been realized across the country as fans haven't been turning up in huge numbers to watch the inaugural edition of the expanded club tournament. The images of near-empty stadiums have been so sad that many fans have been already declaring that the tournament is a failure. But really, FIFA has its own arrogance to blame with puzzling scheduling decisions. Some common sense could have changed the tournament's entire perception in the early going. As we covered in the lead-up to the tournament, the ticket sales were poor in part due to the high prices and lack of overall prestige. But the game times and venues have also been a major factor in this initial embarrassment. For Monday's game between the Premier League's Chelsea and MLS LAFC, Kickoff was set for 3 p.m. local time at Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz Stadium, a time when people are largely at work. So the idea of filling a 71,000 seat stadium at 3 p.m. on a Monday was silly, especially for a match that didn't include a local team. Mind you, Atlanta United leads the MLS in average attendance. It wasn't an Atlanta doesn't like soccer issue. That led to a scene like this at the kickoff, where they showed a video on Twitter, on X, sorry, formerly Twitter. So there you have it. That looks bad, sure, but the announced crowd was still 22,000 people, which actually isn't awful for a 3 p.m. Monday match. If you put that crowd in any soccer-specific MLS stadium, FIFA would have been looking at a sellout and a totally different conversation about the tournament. The same went for Tuesday's match against Bundesliga giant Borussia Dortmund and Brazilian side Fluminense. FIFA decided to hold that match at noon on a Tuesday at the 82,500 seat MetLife Stadium. So you had a crowd that looked like they showed it right there on the picture on X. If FIFA had instead opted to hold a match at Sports Illustrated Stadium, formerly Red Bull Stadium in New Jersey, that's a packed stadium. It's just that simple. And sure, some matches have been able to draw impressive crowds at NFL or college football stadiums. The PSG Atletico Madrid match drew 80,000 people at the Rose Bowl. Miami's Hard Rock Stadium has also seen some solid crowds, but those were either weekend matches or taking place at night. FIFA should have considered the time and venue. It's a new tournament, people have work, and international fans aren't clamoring to travel to America at this political climate. It's just not a recipe for a successful tournament. FIFA only has itself to blame. Of course, this article is hugely critical of FIFA and FIFA's scheduling and timing of these matches happening at the times. At noon and 3 o'clock in during the day, people are at work. That's basically called the dead zone for people. When most people like to actually go out and to be in these places, it's usually in the evening time or on the weekend. So it's the best time to have matches, but not in the middle of the day or in the afternoon, because that's not the best time to draw people out. Unfortunately for FIFA, hopefully FIFA can fix that issue going forward. And of course, in this next article, FIFA is still suffering from not having people in the seats, butts in the seats during these Club World Cup matches in 2025 this year. So it says here, more than 400,000 empty seats at the Club World Cup so far. 400,000 empty seats. That's a lot of people not in the seats and a lot of money that's not being put there. So that's quite remarkable to see. Yeah, it is quite remarkable. Oh man, I think my screen is this article here is frozen for some reason. I just have to redo it. There we go. Okay. Great. Let me do it one more time. See if this thing will work. Unfortunately, I cannot get this article to work for me. So it's on the BBC.com, of course. But of course, I did include the link to this article on 400,000 empty seats not being filled in the Club World Cup, and I believe it said that it's 400,000 across, in almost across the United States. I might be wrong, but it did include the link to this article here in the description box, so you guys can read up on it. So don't be afraid to do so. So we're switching a little bit over from the Club World Cup and talking about the United States men's national team. Now, here's something interesting. So this article here is talking about the men's national team. This article was written on June 20th, 2025. So it says here, even with 2 wins at the CONCACAF Gold Cup, it appears the U.S. men's national team is in crisis. Christian Pulisic, Antoine Robinson, and Yunus Musa have already asked out of the Gold Cup. A trio of other potential or likely starters, Giovanni Rosa of Borussia Dortmund and Weston McKennie and Timothy Weah of Juventus, didn't participate because of the Club World Cup. Then both of Monaco's Folarin Balogun and PSV's Seguino Dest, perhaps the two players with the highest ceiling raising potential in the player pool, aren't on the U.S. roster because of injuries. This was supposed to be the U.S. men's national team's last chance to test itself in competitive matches before next summer's World Cup, and a chance to right the wrongs of the 1-0 Nations League loss to Panama. Without something like 80 or 90% of the expected starting lineup next summer, it could have been transformed into an opportunity for some fringe players to make a case to play a bigger role in Mauricio Pochettino's plans once the matches matter again. But then came the friendlies against Switzerland and Turkey, which the U.S. lost 2 matches already. They lost 2 matches by a combined score of 6-1. Against 2 teams the U.S. needs to be better than if it seeks a deep run in 2026. It wasn't just that the U.S. lost these matches, it was that the losses signified. This was a group of players that didn't appear to care. The play was uninspired as it was the attitude of the team stars. So the former U.S. men's national star Landon Donovan ripped Christian Pulisic's commitment to the national team. Pulisic's dad responded by screenshotting. Of course, this is drama. Christian Pulisic's dad responded by screenshotting a conversation he had with ChatGPT. The AC Milan star told Donovan to say it to his face and revealed that he had asked Pochettino if he could play in the 2 friendlies and then skipped the Gold Cup. This led to Pochettino clarifying his role as the manager who makes personal decisions in his personhood. When I signed my contract with the Federation, I am the head coach, I am not a mannequin. A year before, co-hosting the Club World Cup, the U.S. men's national team under Pochettino promised to be on a steady upward trajectory. Instead, its best players are playing golf rather than playing soccer. Parents are feuding with former players. The captain and coach are airing their dirty laundry in public, and that expensive, inexperienced, supposed to be transformative coach has changed anything. That sounds like a disaster, but also sounds like the situation that pretty much every world-class national team at some point over the past decade. These are growing pains as the United States is slowly becoming a real soccer country. American soccer players probably don't care about playing for the U.S. men's national team as much as they used to. In the long run, that is a good thing. Let's go back to 1994, especially the birth of modern American soccer as we know it. The U.S. was hosting the World Cup. Alexi Lalas was still a harmlessly peculiar guy with a bright red hair and a guitar. The uniforms were acid-washed denim, and the Major League Soccer didn't kick off for another couple of years. Almost none of the players were good enough to play abroad, and even if they could, there was still a stigma against signing American soccer players. So instead, the U.S. Soccer Federation signed a huge chunk of the roster as essentially full-time U.S. men's soccer national team players. The team trained for 2 years and played in just about every international tournament it could enter. At the 1994 World Cup, more than half of the roster, 14 players, listed as U.S. Soccer as their employer. 4 years later, no one was a full-time U.S. soccer player, but 16 guys were playing professionally in a league that didn't exist in 1994, Major League Soccer. Then at the 2002 World Cup, a Major League Soccer player won Best Young Player as a 20-year-old Landon Donovan led the U.S. men's national team to a quarterfinal loss against Germany. Donovan, though, was on a loan to the San Jose Earthquakes from Bayer Leverkusen, who had just lost the Champions League 2-1 to Real Madrid, and that Zidane goal. So Zidane beat Bayer Leverkusen. Donovan was shoved into an ecosystem that still didn't have a place for him. Leverkusen signed him at 17. He was a superstar across youth levels and had to carry the weight of U.S. soccer fan expectation on his shoulders. Donovan has talked about how hard it was to live in Germany and be a professional while his friends were still in high school, an ocean away. He was alone, and there was no one else like him in a position like him anywhere else in the world. If Donovan made it to Leverkusen, it could prove anything about American soccer, that our best players could play for the best teams in the world, and it didn't matter. It didn't work out for him at Leverkusen, and outside of a couple of beloved loan spells with Everton, he spent most of his career in Major League Soccer. So, unsurprisingly, playing for a U.S. men's national team meant a lot to him. It was a chance to prove that failure at Leverkusen didn't have anything to do with talent. He could play at this level if he wanted to. On a more universal level, for him and most of his teammates, games with the U.S. men's national team were the highest level matches they could play. The U.S. men's national matches at the World Cup, Confederations Cup, and against Mexico were much more difficult than the games most of Major League Soccer-based players played weekly. These games were so important in part because they could push the limits. An increasingly but still smaller number of Americans started to play in Europe during Donovan's U.S. men's national team career, but most of them began in Major League Soccer, and because of their numbers abroad were so limited and most of them weren't competing for titles and playing in the Champions League, winning games like the U.S. men's national team was a way to legitimize American soccer, even if it meant flying thousands of miles across the Atlantic Ocean every season. That's not the case anymore with teenage American prospects at almost every major club academy in the world. 8 senior players at the current pool who cost at least $20 million in transfer fees, and a growing number featuring in the Champions League every season. The national team doesn't matter like it did. As much as FIFA tries to increase its influence, UEFA is still in control. The Champions League is the pinnacle of the sport. The competition makes around $84 billion per year, and soccer is being played at a higher technical and physical level than anything we've ever seen. The World Cup will always be the bigger event because of the history, the scarcity, and the fact that the world is participating, but the players with the best players in the world are playing at the best soccer in the world on Tuesdays and Wednesdays from September through May. This has created tensions between leagues and national federations, players and their national teams, and fan expectations and reality. Kylian Mbappe, Lionel Messi, Robert Lewandowski are all incredibly wealthy, all-time great players, and the main reason is that they've known that they've done for their club teams, and the national team careers practically irrelevant. Kylian Mbappe became someone your dad knew because of the 2018 World Cup, and the 2022 World Cup final between him and Messi was arguably the greatest game ever. But Mbappe has been paid over $400 million by the various club teams across his career, and Paris Saint-Germain paid around $200 million to acquire Mbappe the summer before the 2018 World Cup. For most of Messi's career, the national team was a weird anomaly. Everyone agreed that this was one of the greatest players ever because of what he did with Barcelona. With Lewandowski, Poland has nothing to do with his legacy or status in the game. He will go down as the best center forward in the 21st century, solely because he has scored 500 plus goals for Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, and Barcelona. Messi, still in his prime, retired from the national team for a few months, partially because of frustration with the Argentine National Federation. Mbappe briefly stopped playing for France, missing multiple Nations League matches last fall, and most recently and most familiar, Lewandowski recently got Poland's manager fired. The Barcelona forward said he wouldn't play in the national team's 2 World Cup qualifiers this month because of physical and mental tiredness from the club season, and so the coach stripped him of his captaincy. Then Lewandowski said he would stop playing for Poland if Michael Probers remained the coach, and now Probers is no longer the coach. Similar to Lewandowski, the majority of players at the highest level are tired because they have played too many games. The most recent study from FIFA Pro, the International Players Union, found that 70% of surveyed players think a guaranteed rest period each season is necessary. For the last season, the study defined 55 games played or more as an excessive workload. And for the players who hit that mark, 30% of their matches were with the national team. The schedule is very tough, especially for those of us from South America, because we have a 12-hour flights there and 12-hour flights back, said Real Madrid Federico Valverde, who represents Uruguay on the international level. There are times when it's too much for our bodies. This is the downside of what American soccer fans have been wanting. As for more Americans are playing at the highest level in Europe, why wouldn't they feel this way also? Why wouldn't they want to spend less time traveling and playing with their national teams? Even without the Gold Cup, Pulisic at 58 games since the start of last August, his club teammate Yunus Musa would have broken the 55 match mark, and had he played this summer. Both of them traveled over 85,000 miles. About 53,000 miles this season. Between Milan's European matches and games in North America for the U.S. men's national team. In the FIFA report for the last season, they compared a number of young players with their older compatriots. By his 25th birthday, Pulisic had made 338 club and national team appearances in his career. At the same point in his career, Donovan had also played 280 times. So here's the study's author says, quote, Pulisic, if not for injuries, would have an even greater distance in terms of appearances compared to Donovan. This is particularly evident between Pulisic's 21st and 22nd birthdays, where he missed numerous club and national team games due to a long-term ankle injury, COVID-19, and general illness. Overall, Pulisic's incredible number of appearances at such a young age has likely contributed to his worrisome injury record, having had the misfortune of missing close to 100 games since the 2017-2018 season through various injuries. After the report was published, Pulisic played 58 more games for the U.S. men's national team and Milan. So, I'm going to have to stop here because this article is pretty long, guys. So, I'm pretty sure we can get the gist of this thing, as it kind of goes back to what I read before with the the players complaining a lot about they're playing so many games, they have so many different tournaments to go to, and the Club World Cup, of course, is not as respected as the Gold Cup or as the Champions League. Of course, where these teams have to go and compete for each other to win championships. Of course, this is important. This is what the article is mentioning, that it is important for players to have a time to rest. That is important, and of course that is very much needed. With all this traveling going on, of course the traveling definitely takes a tear on their body. For some of them coming, so some of these players that are traveling from South America, traveling to Europe, it's a 12-hour flight. That definitely take a lot of toll on their body. They don't have time to rest. That is important. Yeah, I get it. That is 100% guaranteed. I mean, these guys make a lot of money, but they're also required to play a lot of games to be able to get the money that they need. If they don't do that, of course they're going to lose it. So, of course, that makes sense. And this article is from ESPN.com, and you guys can read up more on it, of course, for yourselves. I'm just reading a part of it so you guys can get the gist of it, and that's basically what the article is saying here. And the U.S. men's national team definitely is in a big just mess right now, because you have players that are just fighting each other. The parents, the players are getting into it for some reason. It's just a big mess. Hopefully, we'll see what happens with the U.S. men's national team. And on top of that, they have lost their matches to Switzerland, and it's just been a mess for them. That's just what's going on. So we're gonna move forward to the next article here. The Major League Soccer. Just talking a little bit about the Major League Soccer team. Major League Soccer faces FIFA fire on promotion and relegation. So this article was written 3 days later. on June 23rd, 2025. Major League Soccer faces FIFA fire on promotion and relegation, originally prepared to unauthorized sports. So FIFA President Gianni Infantino is rattling cages in American soccer. He's urging Major League Soccer to adopt promotion and relegation, a system defining global soccer leagues. Citing Wrexham's AFC's meteoric climb from non-league to England's championship, Infantino argues it fuels competition absent in Major League Soccer's closed structure. Wrexham's Hollywood-backed saga, fueled by Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, showcases soccer's underdog magic. Promotion and relegation let minnows dream big, toppling giants through grit. Major League Soccer, like the NBA and the NFL, operates on a sealed fortress, with franchise fees soaring past $500 million, making owners wary of risking relegation, according to SkySports.com. Infantino's isn't just romantic, it's strategic. At the 2016 study revealed 88% of 1,000 U.S. soccer fans backed promotion and relegation, paving heightened stakes, says SoccerAmerica.com. Yet MLS's stability, with the 2024 attendance hitting 11.4 million, suggests fans aren't fleeing its current model. So the article continues here saying the United States Soccer League, the MLS's Major League Soccer's rival, is stealing a march. In 2025, the United States Soccer League owners vowed to launch a 3-tier system with promotion and relegation by 2027, challenging Major League Soccer's dominance, according to USSoccer.com. This move amplifies pressure on Major League Soccer to evolve a risk being outshone. Infantino's claim that soccer will eclipse all U.S. sports in 3 to 4 maximum 5 years feels audacious. A 2025 poll of 2,501 Americans showed only 14% follow soccer, trailing football, basketball, hockey, and even the Olympics. His timeline seems more hopeful than reality. Major League Soccer faces a $500 million gamble. Relegation could devalue franchises, spooking investors who banked on guaranteed top-flight status, says Forbes.com. Unlike Wrexham's fairy tale, Major League Soccer clubs lack the cultural roots to survive a drop, critics argue. Wrexham's AFC's values has surged since Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney purchased the club for $2.5 million in 2021. As of April 2025, following their third successive promotion to EFL Championship, football finance expert Kieran McGuire estimated the club's valuation at approximately $191 million. Yet Infantino's push taps into soccer's global soul. Promotion and relegation reward ambition, not just wallets. European giants like Manchester United thrive under this pressure. Per UEFA's 2024 report, Major League Soccer's closed shops has drawbacks. Stagnant teams face no real penalty, dulling competition. Fans crave the drama Wrexham embodies, where every match pulses with consequence. The USL's bold experiment looms large. If successful, it could force Major League Soccer's hands reshaping American soccer. Infantino's dream hinges on Major League Soccer embracing risk over comfort. FIFA's challenge is clear: evolve or stagnate. Major League Soccer must weigh in its forces against soccer's beating heart. Will it dare to dream like Wrexham? So, there we have it from this article here, talking about the consequences that Gianni Infantino, the dream that Gianni Infantino has for Major League Soccer over, for FIFA. They want to do promotion relegation over, just to have more risk, so there to be more risk in reward for Major League Soccer. So we're gonna have to see what's gonna happen with that. Where they change their business structure to allow for there to be more free flow of things for that to happen. So I know we've reached the halfway point and going through each of these articles here, but I'm just bringing this information to you because I want everybody to know what's been going on over the past month, basically, with soccer. So kind of going into the next part here, the FIFA World Cup is a commercial hit, but players and coaches slam conditions and planning. Again, this is kind of going back to what we were talking about before. This article was written June 24th, 2025. The 2025 FIFA Club World Cup, a revamped competition featuring 32 teams from all corners of the world, has been a global success, with the tournament offering fans a rare opportunity to watch clubs with diverse backgrounds and playing philosophies compete for an international crown. 4 days into the tournament, FIFA announced that nearly 1.5 million tickets had been sold. Less than a week later, organizers reported that total attendance had surpassed 1 million already. And while some matches have seen thousands of empty seats, the competition has largely been well received around the world thanks to its high-intensity entertaining matchups. FIFA President Gianni Infantino praised the tournament's momentum, saying players from all 32 teams are loving the experiences of competing on the expanded global stage. But behind the scenes, not all share that enthusiasm. Despite strong attendance figures and commercial success, players and coaches have voiced concerns about the tournament's organization. In post-match interviews and press conferences, many have pointed to the heat, poor pitch conditions, and increasingly congested match calendar, urging FIFA to prioritize player welfare and improve the experience for athletes and fans. So one of the primary complaints has been the quality of the pitches. Several stadiums hosting Club World Cup matches, including the Lumen Field in Seattle, MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, and Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, are using temporary natural grass pitches installed over artificial turf to meet FIFA standards. After facing criticism during last year's Copa America, FIFA chose to install single-layer natural grass surfaces as turf-based stadiums, rather than alternating overlays between matches. Still, even with the hybrid setup, and even when discussing venues that already feature natural grass, players say conditions are far from ideal. Paris Saint-Germain manager Luis Enrique has been among the most vocal critics after his team's 2-0 win over the Seattle Sounders on Monday. He called on FIFA to examine not only the quality of match-day pitches, but also the training facilities provided to teams. I'm saying this today because we run these pitches here are nowhere near the quality of those in Europe. Luis Enrique said, they look good, but the ball bounces like a rabbit. Today, for example, the surface was laid over the original turf and had to be watered manually. They watered it at halftime, but it was dry after 10 minutes. Luis Enrique, who led the PSG to a UEFA Championship League title in May, added that dry surfaces present a serious challenge for teams who play possession-based football. For our style, it's a problem, and I don't want it to sound like an excuse. That's what I'm saying after a win. You can't really play the way you want. This is supposed to be one of the top competitions in the world. I don't imagine NBA courts with holes in them, but we've played on pitches where the ball feels more like a rabbit than a soccer ball. Achraf Hakimi, named the man of the match in that same game, echoed his manager's concern and pointed to the heat as a key contributor behind the dry, inconsistent playing surfaces. I think the most negative aspect I have experienced so far, and it's something we can't do something about, is the heat. It is summer, and you can tell by how quickly the pitch dries up. With our playing style, where we like to have the ball and control the flow of the game, it slows us down when the pitch is dry. With parts of the United States facing record heat in recent days, players from across Europe, South America, and Africa have shared similar frustrations. After Real Madrid's 3-1 win over La Liga MX side Patua at the Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, midfielder Jude Bellingham offered a blunt assessment of the surface. Bellingham said, quote, "The pitches aren't great here, honestly." Bellingham told reporters on June 22nd, "It holds up, the ball barely bounces, and it's tough on the knees as well. Hopefully it's something that someone will look at going into the World Cup next year. It's important that we protect the players as well as give the fans a spectacle. Palmeiras defender Joaquin Pericles also raised concerns after his team's match against Al Ahly last week, saying the heat clearly affected the pace and rhythm of the play. Today was too hot, and the time of day when we played didn't help, he told The Athletic. I asked the Egyptian players what they thought of the heat, and even they said it was hot. They're used to playing in hot climates. Although players have continued to speak about the field conditions and player safety, FIFA regulations for the Club World Cup only limited mention of extreme weather. As The Athletic recently reported, the only formal safeguard is the implementation of 2 cooling breaks per match, which are triggered when the wet globe temperature measurement that combines heat, humidity, solar radiation, and wind speeds exceeds 89.6 degrees Fahrenheit. These breaks, lasting in between 90 seconds and 3 minutes, are meant to offer a brief relief in extreme heat conditions. But critics argue they do little to address the broader issue of playing high-stakes matches in the peak summer heat. In the same report, The Athletic cited a statement from FIFA, the global union representing professional footballers, which emphasized that it has consistently advocated for comprehensive heat protection measures, including cooling breaks, adjustments to kick-off times to avoid most intense heat, and the postponement of matches when conditions pose a serious health risk to players. The organization added it would continue monitoring conditions throughout the tournament to ensure player welfare remains a priority. Apart from the extreme heat, some of those participating at this Club World Cup have also criticized the extra workload the tournament represents in the players' already saturated calendars. When asked by the Latin Times about the rumors surrounding FIFA's interest in making the competition a biennial one, Luis Enrique sarcastically responded, "Every 2 years, it'd be better if it was every 2 months. I think all managers and all players think the current calendar is what it is. It's clear that some tournaments are introduced with the good intentions and can bring something valuable to the game, but eventually there needs to be clear guidelines on what kind of rest players need. They're not machines." Enrique also said, quote, "I believe it's crucial for all stakeholders to reach an agreement that ensures soccer remains a top global sport. As for that to happen, players must be given adequate rest and recovery time so the quality of the game doesn't suffer." Although Infantino has made the tournament has been well received by players and coaches. Atletico Madrid manager Diego Simón sent a clear message to organizers, critiquing another detail that continues to impact teams participating in tournament held in the United States. Simón said, quote, "I want to take a second and send a message to people at FIFA. There's obviously a time limit for teams to return back to the field after halftime, but sometimes it is impossible to make it back on time, because when we make it to the locker room, 5 minutes already pass by how far they are to the field. I imagine that is happening to a lot of teams, but I assume you guys, the press, do not care." The Argentine manager was referring to fines given out by CONMEBOL during last year's Copa America, in which managers were suspended for one of their team's games if they failed to make it back to the field after the 15-minute break allotted for halftime. Last year, multiple coaches were fined and suspended during the tournament, including Argentina's national coach Lionel Scaloni, who missed the game against Peru. Last year, CONMEBOL argued that the size of the venues was not an excuse to justify the delay of games. Simone said, "If you don't make it back on time, they fine you. I just want to explain this to those who don't understand the situation. The only way to avoid these fines would be to make the breaks 8 minutes instead of 15, or just let us stay close to the tunnel. The way we would be right on schedule and we respect all the money broadcasters generate." So of course, there's just so many problems that the Club World Cup is having. That the players' conditioning, the health of the players, the turf of the stadiums. Some of these players are playing in NFL stadiums, and I know I'm sure my friend Boone Steele would mention that when football players play in in the on this turf. The turf is not the same, like they mentioned here in the article. The players who are mentioning that they're not playing on actual grass. They're playing on a different type of pitch that they call it. They call it a pitch. So they're playing on a different type of pitch, and it's not a real grass that they're playing on. They're playing on like a rubbery type of grass that's meant for football teams to play on. So because they're playing on this different type of ground they're playing on, it's not real grass. It's affecting the way for them. It's affecting the way for them to play in the game. So, and of course, when you're playing soccer, you have to run around a lot. You need to run and to kick the ball to your teammates, and also to kick the ball and to score goals and to jump. You need that natural grass there to be able to play with the soccer ball. So that's just some of the issues that they're having in this game. So, kind of going forward here, it's kind of getting more interesting. So, as we know, the country of Iran and our country, the United States, are not on good terms at all. Iran is very much considered to be, I'll just say, an enemy of the United States, and the United States considered to be an enemy of Iran. Now, Iran is part of the FIFA World Cup, and in this article here, Iran the Iranian national soccer team is going to come to play in the World Cup in the United States, and this is going to be there's going to be some sort of tension because of political tensions. FIFA is faced in a pickle of stuck between a rock and a hard place to deal with Iran coming into the United States to play in the United States, and it's just that's basically what's going on right now. So in this article here from TheGuardian.com, it says here FIFA faces quandary over Iran at 2026 World Cup due to conflict with co-host United States. So it says here in bold, Trump's military action raises questions for football body. There's a lot of things that I mean, we have the World Cup in the United States. I actually wanted to address that in this broadcast. That the United States is hosting the World Cup, and it's supposed to be a fun time, a great time, but at the same time, we have a lot of problems with the ICE immigration thing going on, people being deported. A lot of these things are occurring, and it's not exactly helping FIFA, and it just makes it seem like it's scary, and for people who come traveling to the United States who are not from the United States. But and then also, let's just read right here in the article here. FIFA is facing new questions over increasingly fraught World Cup next year, with the issue of how to treat Iran while the country is involved in kind of conflict with co-host the United States. There are no provisions within FIFA's regulations to prevent Iran from playing their group matches in the United States, despite the country being subject to military action by the Trump administration and Iranian citizens being under a travel ban that prevents them from entering the country. The ban contains an exemption that could apply to players, staff, or associated families with teams at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Iran, who faced the United States in the group stage of the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, qualified in March for the fourth consecutive World Cup. Although 2026 is also being hosted by Canada and Mexico, only being given a specific slot in Group A could Iran avoid playing in the United States, with their matches then taking place in Mexico. If Iran won that group, they would stay in Mexico for their last 32 game and any last 16 match. Should they go further, then they have never reached a World Cup knockout game then they would play in the United States. FIFA did not respond on Monday to a request for a comment from The Guardian, which will likely be considering its options for the World Cup draw, which is due to take place in December. The decision will be a difficult one for its president, Gianni Infantino, who has associated himself closely with President Donald Trump, who authorized the use of U.S. bombs on Iranian nuclear sites last weekend. Infantino and FIFA Council will have the final say on inclusion in the competition and the makeup of the draw, but the organizing committee for the FIFA competitions will be expected to have input. The committee has members from Canada, Mexico, and Iran, and its chair is UFA's president Alexei Seferin. In 2022, his organization announced that Ukraine and Belarus would be kept part in UFA competition draws after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and this action may provide an example for FIFA to follow. Before the World Cup draw in Qatar, the agreed draw constraints included limitations on where teams could be selected, but this related only to general principle that no more than one team from each confederation excluding Europe should appear in a given group. The headline was amended on going forward. So that's the article right there, guys. So now looking at the situation with the Iran, Iran probably might stay in the World Cup, and of course they're not going to be rejected from the World Cup. They might be put in a different type of group, not be in the same group as the U.S. And like the article says, if they could play their games, if they're playing in a group, they can play their group in Mexico. They don't have to come to the U.S. But if they do make it to the knockout stage of the World Cup, then they do have to come and play in the United States and play until they get to the final, which of course is going to be in New Jersey. And I've covered that already before. So kind of interesting seeing what's going to be the situation with Iran going on. So we're getting down to the final 3 or 4 articles here, talking more about the situation with the world with FIFA. FIFA also, it says here, this article is from themirror.com, and this article is written on July 25th again. So it says here, FIFA facing massive World Cup problem as England is told to forget about winning, which is insane. This is quite an insane title. You're talking about England, who craves a World Cup berth, a World Cup, being in the World Cup knockout stage and winning the World Cup. You're talking about England, where England is considered, the UK is considered the birthplace of soccer. That's where soccer started. That's the same as saying like basketball, baseball. Where baseball came from the United States. Soccer came from England. Basketball did come from Canada, but the U.S. and the United States popularized it. But basketball and baseball and football, American football, you're talking about basically saying like America should not win basketball games at all. Imagine that. Can you imagine the amount of backlash people would have if that was to happen? So it says here in this article from themirror.com that the FIFA World Cup is less than 12 months away. However, former Premier League midfielder Jamie O'Hara has painted a bleak picture for England as the scale of the task ahead for the Three Lions has become ever clearer during the ongoing Club World Cup. Being played across the United States, the new Club World Cup has been blighted by heat issues across the country, with teams visibly struggling to cope with extreme heat and humidity. The heat in Philadelphia proved so crushing that Chelsea was forced to shorten training ahead of its 3-0 group finale win against ES Tunis. Another factor, the weather has been hot. I'll admit that. I mean, but it's the summertime in the United States. It's not really that much big of an issue if a person knows how to manage being in the heat and not pushing themselves. But these guys are professional players, so I'm not going to say they have to deal with it, but they have to definitely work with this, and being in the heat of all day, of course, will definitely have an effect on people. So I'm not saying there's nothing. I agree with them completely. So it says here, the Blues head coach Enzo Mascara said it's almost impossible to train to make sessions because of the weather. He said following training where temperatures reach a blistering 99 degrees Fahrenheit or 110 including the humidity. Yeah. Alright, so it's here. We are just trying to save our energy for the game. This morning session has been very, very short. It's not easy with these conditions, but we are going to try to do our best. It's the reality. It's difficult to work with these temperatures. The searing heat has prompted other teams to take action as well, with Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund sending both substitutes back into the locker rooms during recent games. With these images fresh on mind, O'Hara recently claimed to TalkSport that fans can't forget England next year at the World Cup. O'Hara guided, "Forget England. I remember us in Brazil. We were absolutely useless." O'Hara said, "Forget England performing at the Club World Cup next year. It isn't going to happen, no matter who the manager is. It isn't about the manager. It's about the conditions you've got to play in, and English players cannot cope in that weather." England boss Thomas Tuchel has come clearly aware of the immense challenge ahead of his side, with the Germans said to be planning to take his team on a warm weather training break next March before traveling to Miami in June for a pre-tournament boot camp, as per The Guardian. O'Hara said, quote, "I am sorry, you can't play football in that heat. I have tried. I have played out there. I've done it. I've been out there. You can't play in that heat. It is ridiculous, and we keep going on about it and saying we've got to get to the World Cup next year, but it's a massive problem. You're seeing," he continues saying, "you are seeing the South American teams playing well. They are doing all right because they are used to it and are acclimatized to it. But if you think you can just rock up there and do a 2-week training camp, all right, you can sleep and adapt to time, but it takes you years to acclimatize to weather conditions like that. It is going to be a massive, massive problem next year, this World Cup, a huge problem, and I think they are going to have to do something more about it because you've got the best players in the world going over that." O'Hara also warned that unless major changes are made, he expects to see players passing out because of the heat. "You cannot literally breathe. I have trained and played in those conditions. It is impossible," he added. The 2026 World Cup is scheduled to be held across the United States, Mexico, and Canada, with just 3 of the 16 venues air-conditioned, while another 2 are covered. I definitely get, again, we're seeing this recurring problem. The players are complaining about the health conditions of the World Cup, and right now you got the Club World Cup going on, and players are some players to play in stifling heat conditions with 90, 100 degree weather, and that's brutal. Honestly, I don't like to be outside when it's 90, 100 degrees, and people can definitely pass out from that, get heat strokes. That's not healthy at all to do. So, they definitely have to make adjustments for that, to make changes for that. That definitely has to happen. So, continuing here, one of the things I forgot to mention is that I did in a previous broadcast talking about the places where they're going to be playing in each of the we're going to be holding each of the tournaments. They're having 13 cities in the United States where they're having where they're hosting these different matches, these World Cup matches, and 3 or 4 of them are held in Mexico, and 2 are held in Canada. So I think there's 4 in Canada, 2 in Mexico. So there are going to be some problems with the majority of the matches occurring in the United States. And so if they want to have the World Cup next year, they have to make changes and be able to make sure that they can take care of the players' safety in in these situations, because this has been a recurring theme that we have been reading from article to article talking about. Each of these players have been talking about this. So we don't want to see nobody get heat stroke or die from overplaying too much in the heat. That's a serious problem. So it says here in this article here on sportsnews.com, written on June 24th, Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. It's talking here. So it says here, FIFA World Cup casting doubts over European soccer dominance. Jimenez Sergi's first big job in soccer was the head of operations for UEFA, the largest and most influential of the soccer game's 6 geographic confederations. Part of that job involved planning and managing the UEFA Champions League, the largest and most influential soccer club competition in the world. So when Sergi's moved into his current job as FIFA's chief planning officer for the World Cup, he brought with him the knowledge of that the Champions League, for all of its prestige and gravitas, also had one weakness. Its field was limited to the 55 soccer-playing countries of Europe. So he said, quote, "You have all these club competitions on a confederation continental level, right? But you don't have it on a global level. You never had clubs from South America competing against European clubs in a serious tournament with high stakes. I'm personally interested how the rest of the world clubs are going to fare. There's only one way to find out. That one way is the FIFA Club World Cup, which kicked off in the US 10 days ago. While the tournament has many flaws, it has gone a long way toward answering Sergi's curiosity. Europe, it seems, isn't so dominant after all. Paris Saint-Germain, the reigning European champion, lost to Botafogo, currently 8th in Brazil's Serie A. Iconic English club Chelsea was beaten handily by Flamengo, another Brazilian team. Mexico's Monterrey played Inter Milan, the Champions League runner-up, to a draw. Real Madrid, Europe's most decorated club, tiled Al Hilal, which finished second in the Saudi Pro League, and Spanish power Atletico Madrid, which made the round of 16 in the Champions League, didn't even make it out of the group stage. Those results may still prove to be little more than a stumble on the way to an all-European Final Four, or not. And that certainty, Sergi insists, is why the Club World Cup was created. Our sport was a sport where underdogs have a genuine chance, right? He said, it's not just the money game. We know that the club soccer is at a very high level. The real winners through the tournament's first 34 games have been Latin American teams. 5 of the 6 South American clubs entered Monday unbeaten, as did Mexico's Monterrey. And if there's been a big loser, it's arguably been Major League Soccer, which has been shown it's not ready to play with the big boys. Although the U.S. League made history when Inter Miami beat Porto 2-1 in a group stage game, marking the first time a Major League Soccer club has beaten a European team in a competitive match. The team's 9 other entries, LAFC, and the Seattle Sounders, combined for just 2 goals and was shut out 3 times in their first 5 games, all losses. But if the first Club World Cup has proven to be surprisingly entertaining, even compelling, there have been a few hiccups. Attendance was hurt by several early weekday kickoffs and high admission prices, which forced FIFA to essentially start giving away tickets. The average announced attendance of 36,443 to the first 34 games was matched by nearly as many empty seats. Just one game has sold out. 6 others drew fewer than 14,100 fans. The weather has proven difficult, with several players complaining about the heat and humidity. It was so bad that in Cincinnati last Saturday, Borussia Dortmund's substitutes watched the first half on TV in the dressing room, and it's only going to get worse. Temperatures are expected to drop to top 100 degrees on Tuesday in New Jersey, where Porto plays Al Ahly, and an excessive heat warning has been issued in Philadelphia, where Chelsea and Esperance de Tunis meet. High temperatures 90 are forecast Tuesday, and for Nashville, Tennessee, and Charlotte, North Carolina, where the afternoon games are scheduled. That, however, will serve as a wake-up call for the next summer's World Cup, which will be played in similar conditions. Perhaps the most complex problem in FIFA's faces in attempting to make the Club World Cup a significant quadrennial event. However, is the crowded fixed schedule. The World Cup will expand from 64 to 104 games next summer. Recent years have seen tournaments such as the Nations League added to the international calendar, while club competitions including the Champions League, Europa League, and the Club World Cup expanded. Others, such as the Leagues Cup, was created out of the whole cloth. As a result, players have played more than 70 matches for club and country in the last year. The fixture schedule has become so packed that the only place that to accommodate a month-long tournament such as the Club World Cup was a traditional early summer break between one European season and the next. FIFA Pro, the global union representing soccer players, has cited scientific research in its call for a mandatory 4-week break each year. FIFA, the Club World Cup organizer, responded by offering a $1 billion prize money purse to get teams to play through that break. With the introduction of the new Champions League format and the new Club World Cup, which extends for over a month, the workload on teams and players has increased significantly, said Giuseppe Marotta, chairman and chief executive of Inter Milan. However, these competitions also represent a huge opportunity in terms of visibility and revenue. For this reason, they must be safeguarded. Adjustments should instead be made to the rest of the calendar to lighten the overall load. Marotta suggests shortening league schedules, which means diminishing domestic competitions while giving more power to the likes of FIFA and new UEFA. That could be a slippery slope, one that would make the world's game less local and more global. But if the Club World Cup follows the trajectory of the Champions League, Sergei thinks that's a trade worth making. He says, quote, "The beginnings of the Champions League, it was not always like this huge great event. There's a lot of growth that needs to happen and a lot of education. We are super excited that we are part of history." So there we have it. The Club World Cup is definitely exposing the European soccer dominance. The European soccer players and the soccer teams are definitely suffering from playing in the heat, which is affecting their style of play. And the South American teams, some of the African teams are also must be thriving because they're playing in a environment that is they're just used to playing. They're used to playing in the heat, but they're not. The European teams are not used to playing in the heat, and so this kind of forces them to make changes because they have to get used to playing in the heat, and that's what was mentioned in the other article before. And so it's just kind of interesting. The other thing that FIFA is trying to do is trying to shorten the amount of local teams, the amount of times local teams have to play at home and play in the international level, and playing in the Club World Cup because they're going to be making a lot more money. So there's a lot at stake here. There's definitely going to be some tension between these national leagues and the international FIFA federation. Of course, it's kind of interesting how we don't really see this interaction between these different leagues. We want to see which league is the best, which league has the best team. It's like the NBA going and competing with FIBA, and FIBA has its tournaments where they have their national teams competing with that. Imagine if that would happen. But a lot of the NBA players don't really take the basketball World Cup seriously as they take it's more so if they're younger, but if you're playing in the NBA, you're playing for the NBA championship. So that's basically what is that. Going down to the last one, the last two articles here. So we have the schedule that has come out for the FIFA World Cup, Club World Cup, and also for the we're just reading this here. So this is for the quarterfinals. 8 teams from across 3 continents have their sights set on the FIFA Club World Cup 2025 trophy as the tournament enters the second stage of knockout phase. After an extra 3-minute time filler, 2 major upsets, 3 close encounters, and 2 thumping wins, the quarterfinal lineup has completed as Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund became the last 2 teams to seal their spots. The last 8 stage pits 4 European giants against each other, provides a Middle Eastern club the chance to build on their desired success, and 2 Brazilian teams the opportunity to take their continent further. Here's how the FIFA Club World Cup quarterfinal lines up. You have Fluminense versus Al Hilal. Emotions will run high and the stands will be replete with color and noise when one Brazil's oldest football club, Fluminense, takes on Saudi Arabia's football giants, Al Hilal, at the 65,000 capacity venue in Florida. That's going to be at the Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida, on Friday, July 4th at 3 p.m. So that is what's going to be going on. So Al Hilal actually beat the defending champions Manchester City in a thrilling overtime thriller, and also Fluminense achieved similar success where they beat Italian giants and UEFA champions and Inter Milan in a 2-0 win. Then we have the second quarterfinal, Palmeiras versus Chelsea, taking place on Friday, July 4th. That's tomorrow. Today is July 3rd. Tomorrow is July 4th at 9 p.m. at the Lincoln Financial Stadium in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Palmeiras, the second Brazilian team to make the quarterfinals, will face the former English champions Chelsea in Friday's second knockout to be held in Philadelphia. Runners up in the Brazil top flight last season, Palmeiras beat compatriots Botafogo in a heated clash in the round of 16 and have been the strongest defensive lineups in the tournament. So that's what we have right here. There is the picture of where the different stadiums are going to be. We have it in Miami, Orlando, Charlotte, Nashville, Atlanta, Cincinnati, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Seattle, Los Angeles. Of course, that's where we have it. Next one, the third quarterfinal, PSG versus Bayern Munich, taken Saturday, July 5th at 12 p.m. at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. We have that going on. The fourth quarterfinal, Real Madrid versus Borussia Dortmund at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, East Rutherford, New Jersey. Same time, July 5th at 4 p.m. So we have those 4 matches going on for the FIFA Club quarterfinals going on at that time. So there we have it, guys. Of course, I've included all the links for these articles in the description box for everybody to read. So don't be afraid to do that. Continuing here. Oh, what happened here? There's nothing here. I guess there's nothing there, guys. So we're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to end. I don't know what happened with this article here, this last one here, but I'm gonna have to stop right there, guys. But with these different articles here, we have read about all the information that's happening and the forthcoming matches that are going to be coming up. There's a lot of concerns that people have in regards to the hot weather, and there's the conditions of the field, the players' health, all kinds of situations that's going on. We should expect some of these things to also occur with the World Cup that's going to be happening next year. And so the stadiums, each of the players from the national teams, when they go on to the national teams now, they have to definitely get used to the weather conditions in the United States, because next year it's going to be in the summer. That's going to be the hottest time of year, and each of these players from national teams have to adapt and make sure that they're healthy and they can be able to withstand the heat playing in hot weather we have for today. So also so I'm gonna have to end this live stream for today, guys. This has been quite a long live stream that we have been going over soccer and soccer news. One of the other things I wanted to talk about, I guess I'll talk about the next time, is talk about the women's national team and the success that they've been having, which is, I guess we'll cover that for another live stream. So guys, I'm bringing this thing to you. Hope you guys enjoy a great day. Tomorrow is going to be 4th of July, so happy 4th of July to everybody. Happy Independence Day to everybody. Hope everybody has a great Independence Day. Yesterday it was on Tuesday. Tuesday was July 1st for Canada Day, so happy Canada Day to everybody out there from Canada. Okay, this Canadian Yorker here, the Canadian Yorker channel, definitely celebrating Canada Day and the United States 4th of July Day. So, tomorrow will be 4th of July, so wishing everybody out there a happy 4th of July, and hope everybody enjoys the great day today, and also enjoy the great day that is going to be for tomorrow. Hopefully we should have some good weather for some fireworks, and enjoy time with family and friends. So enjoy the wonderful weather, everybody, and have a great day. I'll see you guys in the